It's 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. Dave Lawrence here, the Workforce Blocks at noon. And for the second year in a row, on our month of British rock, I am joined, oddly enough, by an American guy in a British band. He's an extraordinarily talented guitarist I've been lucky enough to work with several times and meet through the years, and his reputation precedes him. 105.9 The Big Kahuna is proud to welcome to the airwaves to talk about the new album Bananas and much more, Deep Purple, Dixie Dregs, and solo guitar icon Steve Morse. Aloha, Steve.
Aloha. Thank you very much.
You are quite welcome. I appreciate you taking the time, man.
That's great for me. We're in Albuquerque getting ready to play.
Nice.
In an hour and a half, yeah.
How's the Purple tour been going so far?
It's been going great. That's one thing about the band. It's been kind of surprising in a time of changing music styles and everything. We've sort of grown our audience in the last 10 years since I've been with them.
Sure. No, I mean, there's definitely been a resurgence. I remember the last time that I got to see you was in the summer of 2001 when Purple went out on that tour with Skinner, which was a fine double bill.
They're a great band. I love those guys.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. But you're out now with Thin Lizzy's on the bill, correct?
Yes.
Now, who's in? I've not heard much about that. Who's in this lineup of Thin Lizzy? It made me very curious.
Well, actually, the only one I know is John Sykes, the guitar player.
Okay.
So, and I know he's in Thin Lizzy, I think.
So it's John and some other guys.
Yeah, I think right around the time of David Coverdale involvement, he was with them. He was, I don't remember if it was before or after he was in Thin Lizzy.
Nice. Yeah, well, it sure sounds like a great double bill.
Yeah.
When you see both names together. Is there one set list that you guys are using every night in terms of the Purple tunes that you're laying out?
Well, for North America, we changed it, and later in the set we're doing the entire Machine Head album because that was a real important album in the States. And the States seems to make a big differentiation between classic rock bands and other bands. Mm-hmm. And so since they put the band in this pigeonhole, there were a lot of people familiar with that particular album. So we're doing that from start to finish as part of the show. And in the first part of the show, we're doing a lot of the new stuff from Bananas. So it's kind of yin and yang, you know.
Whose idea was that to do the whole Machine Head album all the way through?
Actually, it came through the promoters, but, you know, a lot of the fans, you know, the real aficionados and collectors and people like that, they thought it'd be a cool thing for the band to do.
Oh, it's a dynamite idea. It sure sounds great. I mean, it makes us jealous out here in Hawaii hearing that's going on.
You know what? I sure wish we could be playing there because, you know, every time we go to the Pacific, it seems like the plane could just turn a little bit and land there in Hawaii, do a gig. But the problem is the equipment's usually on some boat or freight planes going to Asia.
Right, gets tricky with the gear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Who came up with the name for the record Bananas, Steve?
Well, I think it was just a backlash, you know, because everything on TV you see, it's, you know, angry people acting all angry and acting all gangish looking, and this whole I'm so angry and so tough look, it's just, I think it's sort of a backlash against that. You know, we're just trying to have a sense of humor.
Oh, and such a sense of humor you guys have. As I've said on the air many times, you guys are such a mellow, laid-back band. Everyone is so easygoing, and when you open up Bananas, I think one real indication of that is if you scroll through and look at the pictures on the inside, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you guys sort of share your space in there with other artists that you've toured with. I see like Ronnie James Dio's face inside there, and the guys from the Scorpions.
Oh yeah, well we love to play music, and especially enjoy, you know, I don't know, working with different people. Personally, that's one of the biggest benefits of my job is being able to be around people that are creative and see, I don't know, kind of what makes them tick and see how they react to different creative situations.
Yeah, I've been digging this record, and I guess I'm with you. I understood what the Bananas title. It seemed like a very tongue-in-cheek, just like a sort of a fun name, and I loved even the cover of it. It just caught me so off guard, you know. And then you pop it in, it's got so many great tunes, you know, House of Pain and Haunted, and just I was trying to draw a connection, and I had to ask you how it came to be Bananas.
Well, actually, I think the band's English, right? I mean. Yes, American. Actually, not the first American. This band's a band. There was two other guitar players.
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy Bowen and then.
Oh yeah, Joe Satriani, right?
Joe Satriani.
Right, Joe Satriani, right? Okay, so yeah, that's true. So you're just the next in line.
so anyway, in English slang, you know, to say somebody's gone bananas means they're crazy or they've gone nuts, and Ian was saying that a lot about some of the instrumental ideas we had. Don and I, when we actually were working on that tune, Bananas, with the odd time signatures and everything in that song. That was part of it. And then the other thing is the story goes that Roger was showing Ian the picture on the back of the album with this Vietnamese guy pushing this huge load of bananas on a bicycle. And then also we were in India and we saw these two guys that are on the front cover, sitting in a truck in front of us in a traffic jam. And, in India you can have, a cow in the road and, an old truck with bananas on it, and then a guy with a, little scooter with his 3 kids and his wife on the back, scattered, someone sitting on the handlebars and stuff. It's really varied. So anyway, that was a picture we took from our van. Nice.
Yeah. And you really do set the scene. I can just picture that with like chickens running in and out of the road and stuff.
Yeah.
Very rustic. Hey, Steve, let me actually get on the first single from the new Deep Purple album, Bananas, that we're talking about here. House of Pain, it's called, and then we'll talk some more. Sound cool?
Yeah, great.
It's Steve Morse, legendary guitarist on his own, and of course with Deep Purple for nearly 10 years now. My guest on the Workforce Blocks at noon, 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. This is House of Pain. 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock, House of Pain, Deep Purple, from their new album Bananas, and I am honored to be joined by their guitarist Steve Morse today on the Workforce Blocks at noon during our month of British rock, the token American in the band. Steve, I appreciate you hanging in here with us.
Thank you.
And I was curious about a few things that I've noticed as I went through the record. How much of the writing for this thing, of the Bananas album, were you involved in? And I noticed Don Airey is a new member of the band. Is he coming to the forefront in terms of writing as well?
Well, he's like, it was involved in everything. What happened was we all sit in a room, and what happens if you bring in a tune, it'll get decimated and torn to shreds and reconstructed. That's just the way the band works. So the best thing to do is bring in little ideas and try to get everybody interested in it. And if it seems like something the band should work on, it'll just naturally become a band tune. My job basically has been to throw lots of ideas out there and see which ones they gravitate to.
Okay.
There are some ones that I didn't figure would be on there, like Never Word and Contact Lost. They were just, musical ideas that I was messing around with at the time, and somebody said, hey, what was that? And we got more into it. Contact Lost was something that I wrote the day of the shuttle tragedy. I just said, let's record this just so I don't forget it, not realizing that they would want to put on the album later.
So that's sort of that's a very interesting process. Because I was fascinated as I looked at the songwriting credits for how it went, and you're working with these legendary guys who, even though you're a peer of, I've always thought of you as sort of coming at a later period, in rock and roll. Did you actually ever see Purple as a fan prior to joining?
No, I didn't, but I saw Hendrix and Cream and, I don't know, just the first Led Zeppelin tour. So they were all contemporaries. Deep Purple didn't play there very much in the United States. So I never saw them. I just happened to never be at a concert when they were playing.
Wow, that's wild, man.
And when their first single came out in 1967 or something like that, I played it in my band. So I've been playing as many years as them, but just in a parallel universe.
When Rod Evans was singing.
Yeah.
And it was like when they did, was that Kentucky Woman? Was that their first single? Or the Hush
Kentucky
song?
Woman was, I think, from the same time period. It wasn't as big in the U.S. because, the original artist that did Kentucky Woman was still current at the time.
Sure, right. That's Neil Diamond, right?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't want to say because I wasn't sure, but it was like a Neil Diamond tune, something like that.
I was wondering why you were avoiding that. And I think another thing that's sort of thinking back to that, it's been, I was a huge Purple fan, so I saw him a bunch of times with Ritchie Blackmore, and I'm too young to have seen him with Tommy Bolin. But when I look at the timeline of everything, I'm noticing that you're coming up on 10 years with them, meaning you basically are either approaching or eclipsing Ritchie Blackmore's time with the band. Has that ever occurred to you?
Yeah, actually, different people keep track of things, and somebody mentioned that the time with John Lord in the band and myself starting in 94 was the longest period that the band has ever been the same.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking of that myself.
Now, I've definitely got the record as the longest continuously running guitar player.
And a great one to have, man. Did you ever get to meet Ritchie Blackmore?
You won't believe how weird this is, but I've never met him.
Wow.
But actually, we've exchanged some positive comments.
Yeah, I mean, how he can't say anything negative about you? I mean, that would be...
And same here, because I have a lot of respect for the music he left behind that I get to play on.
Sure.
And a lot of respect for the fact that he left the door open for us to keep on creating new music by not trying to hinder the band or trip them up in lawsuits.
Right. Yeah. That's a cool thing too. I agree with what you're saying, that he was able to bail and not let his ego be like, no, without me there will be no Purple.
Exactly. Yeah. Very well put.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you spend any time, Steve, with the Purple guys when you guys aren't working? Do you guys like hang out and stuff? Because my understanding, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that they're all sort of living in the U.S. or a bunch of them are.
Well, Roger lives in the U.S. but about 1,000 miles away from me. Near New York City.
Okay.
And then the other guys live in England.
Oh, okay. So Roger's the only one who lives in the U.S.
Yeah, and
besides yourself.
Yeah, so I don't see him that much. I mean, I see him a lot. What am I talking about? Over half the days of the year, I'm with him.
When you're working.
Yeah.
I get you. And you're raising a son, I understand. 11, 12, something like that?
13.
13.
And I got a bunch of kids now, step-kids.
And that's your youngest, though?
I just adopt kids.
Do you?
I love having my stepsons. They don't really know their dad, and so I became their dad.
Wow.
And even though we got divorced and everything, I still I hang out with them and I'm their dad. I support them.
You're the man, Steve.
Yeah.
I remember one time, because I got to get a little plug in for the Steve Morse Band. When I was just a youngster, I was going to college, this place called Emerson College in Boston. And I was working at the radio station there, and we actually convinced you and I guess it was, I'm going to go out here on a limb, Dave LaRue and Van Romaine.
Yeah.
And all three of you came over, and live on the radio after a show at the Channel nightclub, this is like 2 or 3 in the morning, we did like a little stripped-down, not acoustic, but like a stripped-down Steve Morse Band set, and I got to be one of the engineers, and it was just a real thrill. You were just the man back then.
I remember doing some things like that where Van would end up bringing a pair of sticks and we'd play on pizza boxes.
Yeah. That's what it was like. It was like he was just playing on sticks on some crazy instrument or something like that. You're still with those two guys, huh?
Well, yeah, Dave lives in my town in Florida, and we're close friends, but we don't see Van that much because he's working with Enrique Iglesias and also with a German group that's pretty popular in Europe, Nena. So it's hard for us to get together with me doing the full-time Purple thing as well.
Sure. Okay, so you don't see those dudes a lot, but you still do. My understanding is you still like on that new record that just came out, the Major Impacts 2. Are they the guys backing you up on that, or who's playing with you?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
It's Dave and Van. That although the record is more of a writing project, it's a concept record.
Sure.
Where I write, according to the concept, which was original music in the style of artists
that were influential to you.
Yeah, influenced, and Crosby, Stills and Nash, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Aerosmith, ZZ Top.
Sounds very classic rock friendly, Steve.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Who knows?
Your favorite term.
Yeah, but the big influences were back then, because after a certain point, once you really solidify your identity, you're less influenced, so to speak, by any one thing that happens.
Sure. No, I get that. Speaking of influence, how much of a Tommy Bolin fan are you, or are you not?
Well, actually, I was the biggest Tommy Bolin fan when he was in a group called Zephyr.
Okay.
This was back in the 60s, which is odd since I'm only 19 years old.
You're right. And but like that Spectrum album, did you have that?
Yes.
You like that?
Yes, I did. I think he played great, and was one of the things I liked about him was it was so different than just the usual blues.
Yeah, man, he was out there.
Yeah.
He was wild. Just curious what you thought of him, because he was the other big Purple guy, Purple guitar player besides Richie, who we already talked about. And I'll let you go in a second here. Just a couple more things. I was at your website, and I turn everyone onto it. If you want to learn a lot about Steve and keep up with him, SteveMorse.com seems to be a very regularly updated site. And as I was perusing some of the information about you, I see Dweezil Zappa's name there a lot. What's your connection to Dweezil?
Well, he was a friend of Sterling Ball, or of Ernie Ball fame, and I used to, still do a lot of the trade shows. Go to the NAMM show and just hang out with them and meet people. And sometimes we did concerts in conjunction with them. And this is over a lot of the years. Anyway, I got to know Dweezil, and he invited me to play on a solo album of his, which, as far as I know, has still not been released. The one where, like, every guitarist that he ever knew plays a solo on it. It's one song that's 70 minutes long.
Wow.
Obviously, he's a different guy. And we were also doing a live version of a Frank Zappa tune with the Dixie Dregs live album. And we invited him to come down and play it. And he just walked in and nailed it, including some of the difficult horn parts. You know, some of the lines that were more synthesizer lines than guitar lines. But he played them on guitar and did great.
Guy's a monster.
Yes, and I love, you know, I just love his just, you know, slightly different bent on things, you know.
Well, he is Frank's son.
Yeah, I know. It's cool.
And finally here, before I let you go and head back to what you're doing out there, I got to ask you guys, what is it going to take, Steve, to get Deep Purple to come to Honolulu and gig for us here in town? What do I got to do? Do I got to beg? Do I got to get a petition going? Or what would do it, man?
We got to find a good Hammond organ because the equipment's most likely going to be somewhere else if we play in Hawaii.
So you'll borrow the one that's here?
Yes, that's what we need. That seems to be a big holdup as far as us going to China. We're going to China, but...
Yeah, I see that. Just a little while. And that's the first Purple visit to China?
Yeah, and maybe in some places the first rock and roll visit to China.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a decade, and each time that these police security type people have had objections and changed the deal.
That's lame. Well, you got to bring the jam there, liberate the folks. And
yeah, hopefully we won't get used as political pawns, but the idea is for it to be a musical event.
Rather than a political one, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage you on your trip there, but bringing you back front and center, because the people here on the island listening are definitely asking me to remind you that we want to see you guys here. We'd love to have you. It is a real city. It's a beautiful place. You have a lot of fans here who would really like to have Purple come. So please make a note that we'd love you to come, and maybe you'll investigate some night when you have a little free time. You're sitting around and catering. You got your tour director there. You guys don't have anything important to talk about. Maybe you'll bring up Honolulu.
Well, I think I did play there several times.
I know. We're looking for a fresh visit, Steve. Work with me on this thing here.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Me too.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much to the legendary guitarist Steve Morse, a solo icon, as well as Deep Purple's guitarist for a decade. Get more on Steve and Deep Purple at deep-purple.com, also at stevemorse.com, and Bananas in stores like Tower Records now. It's on Sanctuary Records. I had a good time talking with you here on 105.9 The Big Kahuna, Steve. Mahalo, brother.
Thank you very much.
I do appreciate your time, and I mean what I say. You're a fantastic musician. I've always admired your work. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so it's a thrill to get you on the air, and you're just as down-to-earth as you always were.
Thank you so much, Dave.
You're welcome so much.
Appreciate it. Hi, this is Steve Morse from Deep Purple. You're listening to the man, Dave Lawrence.
Awesome. And I think that's basically it. You've been a very good sport and did everything that I needed you to do. I appreciate it. This wasn't too troubling, was it?
No, not at all. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah, you're a very good guy. I got to hang with you in 2001, but I didn't interview you or anything, but we were presenting the I used to work in Boston for like 10 years, and you were very gracious, and again, I do appreciate your time, and I mean what I say. You're a fantastic musician. I've always admired your work. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so it's a thrill to get you on the air, and you're just as down-to-earth as you always were.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome so much.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
God bless you, Steve.
Right, goodbye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.